Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
First keep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty boys brawling, no holds barred bout. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman?
Tune in the vibe. Warning Reds, Court Centers. Got me on the mic, now let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Will to Steph, we hit it again. Better chimes in, let's go deep. Young bloods rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream high. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Podcast magic can't be beat. Do better, we're roll better. We're who cares? Trendsetters.
What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Gardi3, and welcome to the And One Podcast. And of course, joining me just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time. He is Mo Better. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great, Brett. Hey, what's going on, chat? Everybody that's joining us Thursday night, and one, let's talk some hoops.
Absolutely. And look, you know how we all got to start. Underrated player of the week. If this is your first time joining us, every single week we like to start with an underrated player of the week, somebody who didn't get enough love. It could be a player, a team, executive, so it could be anybody. So who is your underrated player of the week, Mo?
My underrated player of the week, I'm going to go with somebody that doesn't really get talked about that often, even though it seems like he's been around for a while. I think he's an underrated, you could call him a star role player. He's just been a good fit wherever he's gone. Good teammate, good locker room guy, great shooter. My underrated player is Patty Mills. Patty Mills has been a member of championship teams. He's had a lot of success overseas and in different overseas leagues, as well as in international play. I think Patty Mills, if you look at the breadth of his career, the entirety of his basketball career, Patty Mills is vastly underrated when you look at the bulk of his basketball resume. Proven shooter, proven champion, great teammate, underrated player, guy we don't talk about, Patty Mills.
Hey, that's a great one. You know, it's funny. I kind of had the same idea with an undersized guard. Unfortunately, he just got announced out for the year with a torn ACL. But how about Fred VanVleet, man? I don't think you can really understate how important Fred VanVleet was to that Rockets team. He's like the one guy who could consistently dribble and play make at a high level for him. And it's obviously not just this year. He showed his value, obviously, on that 2019 Raptors run. Right. He stepped up real nicely after Kyle Lowry left. Like, he's just one of those undersized point guards that just absolutely has it. And he brings his 100% every night. He gave the Rockets a great boost last year, and they're really going to miss him this year. I am curious on how they're going to replace him. But my underrated player of the week, and get well soon, Fred VanVleet.
Love the Fred VanVleet shout out. What more can I say about him? He's the biggest compliment I can give you about him is he's a better version of Patty Mills. He's a big time shot maker, underrated defender. He's a much better playmaker. And I think you're right. Where Houston is going to miss him the most is the leadership he provides on the court, getting everybody in their sets and running the offense. And I think that's definitely going to be a struggle for them going forward because he's an underrated shot maker too, an underrated shot creator as well. So how do you replace that? I've heard rumors that they're talking about starting and playing Amen Thompson at point. Look, I have all the confidence in the world what Amen can be as a player. I don't think point guard is a natural fit for him, at least right now at this stage of his career, but we'll see.
You know what? I'll take it because I see a lot of people also trying to make the argument like, oh man, maybe they should sign Russ. I'm like, at that point, just start him in. Like,
oh, you know what? In all fairness, I don't want to sound, I'm not going to be one of those people. You and I both agree how great a player and how great a career Russ has. I don't want to ever sound like I'm slandering Russ because a lot of the conversation today, people talk about Russ like he never had a prime. Like, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't ever that dude when we both know when he was like from age, let's say 22 to 29, he was absolutely that dude. So what I would say is the current version of Russell Westbrook, or even you can make the case Russell Westbrook over the last 4 seasons, maybe, I wouldn't want him running my point because he's not the best decision maker. And he's not a consistent shooter. And I'm talking about Russell Westbrook right now today. Like, even if you were to pick him up, I think you would agree he's more of a situational player now, right?
absolutely. Like, yeah, I completely agree with that. It's so funny. I think it's because there's such a newer influx of fans, Mo, that now we're getting to the point where it's like they see Russ now, and maybe they just weren't able to watch his game from like his MVP season because I was already 8 years ago.
Right.
So,
right. And I get that. I get that.
Say they're talking about peak LeBron, like that didn't happen like 12 years ago.
Right. And that's all I'm saying. Like, you go back to the first time that Russ and KD were in an NBA Finals on the biggest stage against the Heat. Those two guys balled out. People forget nobody on the Heat could guard Russ. I know they won the series, and that's what matters the most. But it wasn't because Durant and Westbrook didn't show up. I just think people forget that Russell Westbrook at one point was a regular in terms of being one of the 10 best players in basketball for years. And because of how, as he's gotten older, the athleticism isn't quite what it was. And so he doesn't finish as well. His decision-making has been a little bit on again, off again. We forget that he had a prime. He had a peak. I get it. You know what? It's funny. You can almost tie how people look at Russell Westbrook in the NBA with how people look at Russell Wilson in the NFL.
No, that's absolutely fair enough. Look, I got some, we got some fun things planned for the show, Mo. But I'm going to start off with a little bit of a do better with Mo better. And I was torn between two. And I know I'm just going to throw them both out there. My first one is the Pelicans, who came out in a press conference and said that they don't really see pressure to start winning right away. Wasn't the exact words, but you can go look up the interview if you'd like. And I think that is the most absurd thing to ever hear, especially from a team that just traded their 2026 unprotected first to go get Derek Queen. Like, how do you not feel pressure to win right away? Clearly, you felt enough pressure to trade your 2026 first. Unprotected. I just don't get that train of logic, honestly.
I think that's a horrible message to send to your fan base, a horrible message to send to your season ticket holders. You're trying to undersell, and by underselling, you think if you have a mediocre season, they're going to look at it as you've overachieved. And if you look at the talent that they have on that roster, and they do have talent, they should be a playoff team. I'm not talking about a title, nothing ridiculous, but they should be able to be in the playoff picture. And for David Griffin and company to come out and say that, that's embarrassing.
say, yeah, they. I know they have the. I know they have that new GM because I believe they fired.
Oh, my bad.
No,
My
you're all
bad.
good.
You're right.
I
You're
think
right.
it's what's his name? Bryson Graham or Bryson? It is Bryson. I always say Bryson Graham, but it's Bryson. But
Don't worry. If he keeps talking like that, the name won't matter.
fair enough. And you know, I gotta throw this out there too, Mo. Former players, guys, chill out. Look, we've had this conversation a couple times, but I feel like it got brought up again because we got Pat Bev talking absolutely crazy on Trae Young. And it is so absurd to me. I'm just sitting here like, what are we doing? Look, I don't understand. Like, what is with this back and forth? You're dunking on Trae Young like you have some moral high ground to stand on when it comes to playing basketball, right? Like, Trae Young is just clearly a better player than Patrick Beverley. And the argument, by the way, that I get back was, well, how come how come Patrick Beverley was a winner? He played with all these winners. All these teams wanted him. I'll give you the answer. Because he's cheap. Because I promise you, if I walked up to any team in the NBA right now and said, $5 million, let's say $5 million, prime Patrick Beverley or Trae Young, it's not even going to be close. 30 teams are picking Patrick Beverley. Trae Young. My apologies.
Right.
I just think it's such a weird thing to do, like to just dunk on him so hard when it's just like.
No, I'm with you, partner. I'm with you. I get frustrated. You know what? You and I get frustrated when younger players go out of their way to dunk on great players from different eras, right? We hate that. I feel the same way when a veteran player who had a good career, good career, but was a journeyman, is going out of his way to try to diminish a guy who's a perennial all-star. He's been an all-NBA player. He's a franchise player. And when people take the Pat Beverley side and go, well, it's true. Everywhere Pat Beverley has been, he's won. And I'm like, correct. But he's won in the role of a role player. He's a role player. Trae Young is a franchise player. They carry different loads, not remotely the same. And he goes, well, I've been to a conference final. Right, as a role player. Trae Young took the Hawks to a conference final as the best player on the team. And it's weird for me to make this argument because while I recognize Trae Young's talent, I think you and I have had this conversation. I've criticized him because I think Trae can be a difficult guy to play with. But for Patrick Beverley to go on his podcast, and I don't know the guy's name that's on the show all the time. I'll just call him Flunky. And for him and his flunky to basically imply that Pat Bev was better than Trae Young, that's beyond crazy talk. It's beyond crazy talk. You said take prime Pat Bev and prime Trae Young. I'm saying you could take prime Pat Bev and just regular Trae Young, no prime, and every team is going to take Trae Young.
It's funny because I made the joke because it's just like Patrick Beverley almost made it sound like it's easy to do what Trae Young does.
Right.
I almost want to see, like Mo, Pat Bev, franchise player. If you had Pat Bev as your best player, if you put the over and under on that team at 5 games, I would take the under. If you put the over and under at 4 games, I'd probably still take the under. It would be that horrendous.
Unless your goal is to get to the lottery, then spot on. Pat Bev as your primary, doing what Trae Young has to do. So he's going to take 19 shots, and he's going to have to be able to shot create for himself and for others at the level that Trae Young does. Not going to happen.
The fans would be revolting by like halftime of game 1.
And I, by the way, I like Pat Bev. We joke around a lot, but I like Pat Bev. I have nothing but respect for guys that had to get to the NBA the hard way and just grinded their way and found a role for themselves. And Pat Bev did that. He became a terrific defender and found a role for himself in the league. He did that. And I respect that. But I don't know how you go out of your way to try to diminish what Trae Young did. If Trae Young played with the talent that Pat Bev played with, remember, he played with superstars and all-stars. I think if Trae Young just had one or two of those guys, I think Trae Young would have been in an NBA final.
By the way, thanks for tuning in, Kurum. Thank you. I see you. I think my favorite part of that whole thing was Trae Young reading Pat Bev's career stats, and he goes, "Yo, why am I even doing this?" And then he just stands up and leaves mid rant, and then he comes back. That was so funny.
I don't blame him for being frustrated. Like I said, I respect what Pat Bev did in the league, but that claim or that alley that he's trying to go through, that would be Robert Horry basically saying something like, "What would Timmy have done without me?" You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing. Because Robert Horry can make the claim, and his claim would be stronger. Robert Horry's got 7 NBA titles, right? That's a stronger claim. But nobody in their right mind is going to go, yeah. I don't know. If Robert Horry had the opportunity like Tim Duncan, he probably could do the same thing. Nobody thinks that. Nobody believes that.
Yeah, and that's funny, but I respect Pat Bev too. But come on, man, you got to be better than that. I think the weirdest takedown we had of somebody on a podcast diminishing a current player, though, besides that, Olden Polynice trying to downplay what LeBron's been doing in the second half of his career. That was so funny. I had to do a double take. They're like, yeah, if you play long enough and you're able to do whatever you want, then you're gonna put up numbers. I'm like, who's saying this? Is that Olden? What is he doing here? I forgot he existed, but no.
His argument was a terrible argument. I'm sorry. And again, it's weird though, because I acknowledge how great LeBron is, but I feel weird having to defend LeBron. Like, he's not just hanging on, Olden. The guy is excelling. He's still a top 10 player. He's still going 25, 7, and 7. That's not just hanging on. That's still playing at an elite level. I'm going to give the guy flowers where he deserves them. And again, the argument coming from somebody like Olden Polynice, who he has less cred than Pat Bev. Because I don't know what he did in the NBA other than take up space.
Yeah, and that's weird because it's just like that doesn't work for everybody though, right? Like Vince Carter played for 21 years and never came even close to doing a quarter of what LeBron's doing right now.
Facts.
We have players that play that long.
Now that I think about it, what Olden Polynice is most famous for is that the Bulls drafted him and traded for Scottie Pippen on draft night.
Well,
that's what he's most famous for.
Say he's probably lining up his next podcast to give himself all the credit. Like, look, the Bulls wouldn't be a dynasty if it wasn't for me. Say Michael should be thanking me for his 6 rings.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Sonics are feeling that love, but yeah, I know the Bulls are grateful.
Say, Trae Young, this is your best chance to win this year. Absolutely. Hawks should at least be in the playoffs.
I agree.
Kurum, I'm so glad you're here. I think you'll enjoy what we have next for you. Because I'm going to try to be Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. And I'm going to try to sell you some stocks. What are we doing? We're trying to buy and sell stocks of certain players. The theme are some injured players. So why don't we open up the stock market here, Mo, with somebody who's been in the news a lot recently, Zion Williamson, who lost a ton of weight. That was made very clear, which, by the way, Jeff T. ripping on his press conference was hilarious. Because this is the worst press conference I've seen in my life. You shouldn't have to flaunt that you lost weight when the organization pays you so much. Like, all right, go off, Jeff.
I disagree with that.
But a lot of people, Mo, they're buying the stock. They're saying that this is the year he jumps into that strong all NBA category. Some people are saying top 10. So I guess my question to you is, do you think Zion comes back better than ever, becomes maybe a all NBA caliber player? Or are you selling those Zion stocks still?
Here's my thought process. I hope that everybody that thinks he's going to be all NBA and have a terrific, maybe even MVP caliber season, I hope they're right. Let me start right there. I'm always rooting for the player, but going off of what I know and what I believe, no, I'm selling that stock. Skinny Zion, I think he lost too much weight. I told you that before the show. Like, being skinny doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a better version of him. I give him credit for looking fit, but what matters, Brett, is what he looks like when he's out on the floor and how he moves, and can he finish through contact the same way? Does he still have the strength to battle down low? There was a time that we forget that a big part of what Zion does is there's the athleticism, but there's also the strength and physicality that he brought when he attacked the basket. I don't know if skinny Zion does that. And I would argue, in my opinion, he lost too much weight. I don't think skinny Zion has taken the Pelicans to the playoffs. So I'm selling that.
You know what? I think I'm going to go a little. It might be so. I think he'll be a fringe all NBA player. I'm somewhat buying his stock. I'm buying it cautiously because I think there's one important piece of information here. This isn't lost on me. He just happens to get in the best shape of his life in a contract year. This is his contract year, guys. That's why I'm buying, but I'm not putting as much stock as a lot of other people are. I think Zion's going to make sure to be healthy. He's going to do everything in his power. Is it for the good of the Pelicans? I think he's really more so locked in on securing that next big contract. And if he knows that if he is hurt again and he can't play more than 30 games, that max number starts dropping quite a bit now, doesn't it? So I'm going to buy with his motivation being simple. I want to get paid another max.
Yeah, which is, by the way, I completely understand your reasons for buying, but it's because I think the way you think it's why I would sell. I don't think he's committed to the franchise. And again, I don't know what he's going to look like when he's that small and that skinny. He might be even more injury prone. I would sell. I would have moved off of him a long time ago. Sometimes it's not just about your raw ability; it's your mental. It's where your head is at. The way he thinks, I would have traded him years ago.
See, Mo, I'd buy right now and then let it go up, and then after the year, sell. Because I don't think he's committed to the franchise. I think he's going to make sure to ball out to get that next contract. He's going to get that big contract, and then we're going to kind of see him fall back into his old ways. So
I like that. I like that idea. Okay. So here's the thing, though, because somebody was making the comparison. They were like, well, look at Luka and how he's gotten into shape, and Luka's trying to get the bag. And I'm like, he already got the bag. He already signed that extension with the Lakers. And I don't think it's the same thing, because we saw Luka when he wasn't in the best shape, and Luka took a team to the finals. They're not on the same level. Don't get caught up in the fact that Zion is more athletic. In terms of those two players as basketball players, Luka is levels better than Zion Williamson.
Absolutely. Like if you want to make the jokes about, Fat Luka, like Fat Luka is still taking teams to the NBA Finals.
Correct.
And took a team that really had no business being in the Western Conference Finals to the Western Conference Finals. So these two are different tiers, not even close. I'm selling the idea that he's going to be some strong all-NBA player. But if you tell me that Zion's going to be like a fringe all-NBA player, like he sneaks onto a third team this year, yeah, I could sell that. I think he could very much be in that club of people and get voted onto a third team. But I don't think he's going to ascend to that, top 10 like some people are saying. By the way, the next guy. This next guy though, I'm buying all the stocks. How about his teammate, Trey Murphy?
I'm a huge Trey Murphy fan. And we often talk about young, talented players that have struggled with injuries. He's one of them. But who do I trust more, Trey Murphy or Skinny Zion? Well, right now they're almost like the same size, except Trey Murphy's probably 3 inches taller and is a much better defense. It's not even close. Trey Murphy, to me, is already an elite 3-and-D wing, but he's a 3-and-D wing that can drop 20 plus on your head. I think this year Trey Murphy makes the All-Star team.
Absolutely. This is a guy that I'm very high on. I think he ascends from elite role player to a strong all-star, and maybe we see an even higher ascension the year after. I think the thing that would have to go the most with him is playmaking, but even that kind of showed a boost. He was just a great all-around player for them last year. The only problem was obviously he couldn't stay healthy. So if he stays healthy this year, I'm buying all of the Trey Murphy stocks.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Another guy, another fun guy, by the way. Another guy? How about Jay Nivey? Jay Nivey, he was very good for he's very good for the Pistons, but the problem is he was only good for them for 30 games. But he gave them 17, 4, and 4. So do you think that maybe he's already reached his ceiling, or are you gonna buy some more stock and thinking there's more to him than he's shown so far?
I think there is more to him, but I think he's the perfect offensive sidekick to what Cade does. I think Jaden Ivey, a lot of the things he can do off ball. He's not as great in terms of shot creation, but he can, and I still think he's developing. I think Jaden Ivey is going to help take the load off of Cade, and the Pistons are going to be that much better for it. So I love Jaden Ivey coming back, and I think he's going to have a really good season.
I completely agree. I think Jaden Ivey, he was doing great last year. He was somebody that I talked about as a breakout candidate last year. So I think as long as he stays healthy, he's going to break out again this year. So, and this next guy, Mo, by the way, ton of fun. You're buying on Ivy too, Kerm? All right. Say, how about Jalen Johnson? Pistons top 4 seed in the East, by the way. I think that's very doable for them. I like it.
I like that. I agree. It's funny because Jalen Johnson is he's got the build, a very similar build to Trey Murphy, and the athleticism, not the defender that Trey Murphy is. But I think what's good about him is he's become a much better mid-range shooter. He's terrific, obviously, at finishing at the rim. He's still developing, but if he remains healthy, I think Jalen Johnson is a fringe all-star.
I think he could be a strong all-star. Like, I'm very high on Jalen Johnson, and it's really that second number I think that people don't really catch people off guard, right? Yeah, he's 19 and 5, but 10 rebounds. He's a very good rebounder out of that small forward spot. I think that while he's a weaker defender than Trey, I think where he makes up for that, he's very good at ending possessions by grabbing boards. So I think that Jalen Johnson will just continue to climb, and this will be a great year for the Hawks. I truly believe that we're talking about the Hawks. Should it be a playoff team? It's dependent on this guy. We can talk about Trae Young all day, but he's going to need a sidekick. And I think there's only one guy who fits that bill on this entire team. Jalen Johnson is the key to the Atlanta Hawks being a playoff team, or just maybe a sneak into the play-in team.
Let Jalen Johnson have a healthy season. Let Porzingis have a healthy season. Atlanta won't just make the playoffs. They're going to go on a run.
Honestly, I would love to see it. If my Bucks don't win it all, I would love to see some underdog sleeper, just make that deep run. I did enjoy watching the Pacers and their nutty run last year. That was a lot of fun.
So you and I both agree that we think Orlando is going to be scary to beat. They're going to be hard out in the postseason, provided there's no major injuries. When you look at that trio with those two bookend forwards, and now you got Desmond Bane. What I would say is, though, even though they have the bookend forwards, Trae Young is such a hard cover. I think Orlando and the Hawks would be a very entertaining series.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think the challenge, with the Hawks, he would be a hard cover. Kerm, let me be delusional for like one moment. Stop reminding me that Doc Rivers is still the coach of my basketball team. I think that series would come down to Jalen Suggs and how healthy, like how does he look by playoff time? If he looks like the Jalen Suggs from last year, then that would be really tough for the Hawks to win that one. But I do agree that would be a fun series.
I almost forgot how valuable Jalen Suggs is to Orlando, and I'm not even talking about what he can do offensively because he's solid offensively, but when he's healthy, he's an elite enough defender that I think that he could give Trae Young some trouble. I'm not saying stop him, but I think he can make him less efficient.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, the last guy, and I wanted to make the last one challenging, so I picked a young guy who's on just a terrible team, a mediocre team. Mataz Buzelis. I thought he was a very, very good player last year. And I'm curious. Do you think you can I'll set the bar, Mo, for him at All-Star. Do you think would you buy stock on Mataz Buzelis ascending to maybe not next year, but in the future being an All-Star caliber player, or would you sell on that idea?
I think I don't know if I'm alone on this, but I'm buying it. I think he has that kind of raw talent. I'm not that confident in Billy Donovan being the coach that gets the best out of him. Hopefully for Bulls fans, even though for some reason he just got an extension. I don't think the Bulls are going to make the playoffs this year, so maybe Billy gets fired and then Buzelis takes off. This kid, freakishly athletic, underrated skill level, and you can tell he's got that dog in him. I'm with you. I give him a couple of years. I think he will be an all-star. I really believe that.
Oh, absolutely. I think he showed a lot of flashes last year. The numbers aren't going to jump off the page, obviously. Just 8-3-1, but he showed a lot of raw potential. And I think playing with somebody like Josh Giddey, who can set him up for easy looks, will help in his development as well.
You read my mind. His best friend going forward in his development is going to be Josh Giddey.
Yeah, I'll say it's like a double-edged sword. He has his best friend in Josh Giddey, but also at the same time, Patrick Williams, a man, just going to stand in the paint because he doesn't have to cover him from out there. So they got to find a way to move off that contract ASAP.
Yeah, nothing against Patrick Williams. There's no doubt in my mind Patrick Williams is a legitimate NBA player. The only mistake, and I say it like it's nothing, is they drafted him like they thought he was going to be a franchise player, and I didn't understand that. They gave Patrick Williams the kind of respect that for whatever reason Cleveland gave Anthony Bennett. I don't understand these things. And Patrick Williams has been a huge disappointment. I don't want to say the word bust, but he's creeping. He's creeping up there.
I got to find reasons to watch Bulls games. I have League Pass. I just that's your reason right there. It's Mataz Buzelis. I think that's the only reason to watch Bulls games, right? Like,
I'm watching Buzelis. I'm watching Giddey. And guess what? Every now and then, Kobe White's going to go off for 40, 45.
Their guard rotation is legitimately the only reason to watch Bulls games, because then it's like they're young, they're fast, they can play exciting, and then you look at like their front court, like Patrick Williams, Nikola Vucevic, you're like 2025. Nah, I'm good on that. Like I said, I think it's funny because I think Patrick Williams could have been a fine NBA player, but expectations and the fact that they extended him early on that like $90 million contract just sealed his fate, right? Like if he was like a vet min guy or like even a mid-level exception guy, you're like, whatever. That's just kind of what you expect. But That's like the burden of expectation when you get extended early and for good money. Then expectations go up, especially from your own fans, and he unfortunately hasn't been able to meet that for him.
The expectations are overwhelming. And I I don't know what Bulls management or the coaching staff saw to say, from what we've seen, we definitely want to invest $90 million in you. And I'm not hating, I'm not pocket watching. If Patrick Williams had a 3-year, I don't know, $20 million deal, and he was a rotation player, you and I would be talking about how he's one of the better rotation players in basketball, right? But he has expectations. To this day, they still think he's going to make a leap and become a star. And I don't want to disappoint Bulls fans. That's not going to happen.
Oh, absolutely. And then before we get into ranking our, because we're going to do a fun tier list of every center in the league, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I just want to throw this out there because we didn't mention the Bucks earlier. They're, I believe it was their vice president came out and said that he would have loved to see us in the top 10 on volume shooting for 3-pointers.
Huh.
And I think that's interesting. And here's why that's interesting. I don't necessarily want that, only if you can achieve it in a smart way. So I think that might be somewhat of an unrealistic expectation because we do have Giannis. He makes that hard. When you have a guy who has a 35% usage, shooting 9/10 of a three a game, yeah, that kind of makes getting into that top 10 tier hard, right? Like you're not going to be able to get there. And when you're paying Kyle Kuzma good money and you have to play him in the rotation, you don't want him volume shooting threes. So I'm really hoping that the Bucks just play smart and play to their strengths and don't just start chucking up threes because we want to be this 3-point shooting team, because you can up the volume for some of these guys. Like if Green, Trent, and Turner want to shoot more threes, sure. But if the solution is Giannis, like in 2020, goes back to chucking his, then he's chucked 4 threes a game, which would put us ironically at 5th in the league last year. But then our offense is worse. So I just hope that the Bucks kind of take that to heart, but also remember, play to your strengths. Don't just go into games volume shooting threes, because that isn't necessarily how you're built.
I agree. I think the Bucks should play to their strengths. Could they go to a smaller lineup where in certain lineups Giannis is playing the 5 and they've got shooters around him? Sure, in certain matchups, I could see them going to a lineup like that. It could work that way. But I don't need Giannis to take 5 or 6 threes a game, not when he's still in the prime of his career and nobody can stop him from getting to the rim.
Oh, absolutely. So I did see you talking about Chet top tier center. I went under the assumption like last year where, say, that's fair. Actually, iHeart came off the bench. So, say I did make a mistake. I put iHeart as the starting center, but he did come off the bench more. So, because when they played together, Chet got pushed to the 4. Actually, no, they played a lot of iHeart and Chet last year. So, anyway, I'm going to end up having Chet with the forward group.
I don't think that's a bad move. I don't know if Chet's going to ever be able to exclusively play at the 5 because he doesn't have the build to play the 5. Not consistently. He's just slight. He's a small built guy. He's thin. And I know he goes out of his way to work out, lift weights, get stronger, get bigger. But KD's been in the league 17 years. What did he put on? 6 pounds? So, some people are just slight.
No, absolutely. So get this all set up here. Okay. Yeah, we're so anyway, here's our tier list, and I tried to make it so we have a little bit of everything, right? MVP, All NBA, Fringe All NBA, All Star, Fringe All Star. I tried to make sure all of our bases were covered. And they're really simple. We're going to pretty much just try to put every single center in what category that they belong in. Which, by the way, yeah, if we had Chet on here, I would put him in this All NBA category. I think he clearly had earned that last year. He's
Respect.
right here, All NBA or fringe All NBA. He'd be right there.
I agree.
So, Mo, I figure we'll start off easy. We'll start off with dominating himself, DeAndre Ayton.
And you have him.
I say that's the fun part. I personally think that he's going to be a rotation player. I think you can make an argument that he could be a high level rotation player, and I'd listen to that argument since he's playing with Luka.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
I think that this is the highest that I could put him.
No, I agree. Look, I think he's going to be productive. I think he's going to do well when you get to play with shot creators like LeBron and Luka. But I think that's where he's going to be. And look, for what the Lakers need, I think he fits that need.
Oh, absolutely. We got Bam Adebayo.
I like Bam.
This one I think is fun because to me, Bam should probably go one of two places.
Above Ayton.
Oh, absolutely. The real question, Mo, is he an all-star or is he like fringe all-NBA? Because I don't think he's like an all-NBA caliber talent, but I think he'd be like in that next tier of guys, like the 16th through 25th best players in the league that if somebody gets hurt, you can sneak him into the all-NBA.
I like the way you phrased it. Let me put it this way. I think he's absolutely an all-star. Is he one of those guys that over the span of his career, he might make the second or third all NBA team once or twice in his career? Yeah, I believe that. But not, I don't know. He'll never be first team all NBA. I think Bam is an all-star. That's what I think.
Fair enough. That's kind of where I think he's at this point in his career. Like I said, I think if you want to argue that he's one step above that, and he's like a fringe all NBA talent, that's something I would listen to, but
yeah. Agreed.
I don't think there's an argument for this next one. Nikola Jokic, bench warmer. No. I think he's in a class of his own. I can't put anybody else even with Jokic.
Yeah, he's going to be by himself. There won't be nobody joining him. That's for sure.
Yeah, and all NBA is going to be tough to crack too because I'm going under the jurisdiction of the new guidelines where it's just the 15 best players.
Right.
So that, and I think, yeah, he's in the short list of MVP every year. So how about this guy, Mo? Nicholas Claxton.
I think Nick Claxton, I actually think he's as good as DeAndre Ayton is. I do. I know that he's played on a struggling Nets team, but what he's better than Ayton is already, he's a better defender. He's as good a rebounder. The problem with Nicholas Claxton is he just hasn't played with a lot of really talented perimeter players. They have a lot of players in the Nets, but what they don't have is they don't have a franchise player. But I like Nick Claxton. I think you can make a case that he should be where Ayton is.
And that's kind of where I'd put him. I think he's a high-level defender. Where he lacks in an offensive game, I still think he's a high enough level roller and puts enough pressure on the rim that, yeah, he's absolutely right there. I think the highest you can argue for him, though, is just high-level rotation player. I don't think he's an all-star caliber player, but...
No, I agree.
Now, this one's interesting, because this one would be almost projecting, right? We're talking about Donovan Klingon, center for the Portland Trail Blazers. I think he showed a lot of flashes of being a high-level rotation player last year. But that being said, right now, going into the season, I think he's a strong rotation player with a very good chance to break into this high-level rotation player tier.
I like him where you put him. I think that's where he belongs. Now, could that change over the course of the season if he takes another step in his development? Maybe, because I thought he showed a lot of promise last year under Coach Billups. But I like him right there right now. I like that. I like where you put him.
Oh, fair enough. It's about to get really tough up in here, by the way, Mo. because we're at Draymond Green. I all-star caliber player. Is he right there with Bam? Is he
as a center?
starting?
I think at this stage of his career, he's not an all-star. I mean, look, I don't want to sound cruel, but right now, today, do I think Draymond Green is going to make the all-star team as a center? Absolutely not. He's not going to make the all-star team as anything. I still think he can play at a high level in his role with the Warriors. I have him above, obviously, Ayton and Claxton, but it's because of what he does defensively and how he does as a primary facilitator. So I think he's above them, but I don't think he's an all-star.
I think the biggest argument, obviously, you make about him being like an all-star like caliber player would be he's just still so good defensively. It's hard to like keep him away from all-star, but it's tough. Like that's the only biggest reason why I'd put him here is because he's just still so good defensively. He does so much for that team that's the only argument I could make that he's still an all-star caliber player. But that being said, some decline might be coming soon for him. So
I think decline's coming for a lot of guys eventually. And look, to their credit, their highs were so high that their decline still makes them elite players.
Yeah, fair enough. Now I know he's missing the first half of the year, but that's fine. We'll still rank him as a starting center for the Grizzlies. Zach Edey. I'd probably put him right where Klingon is. Solid rotation player.
Read my mind. And it's funny, when he was coming out, I said that because a lot of people said he wouldn't be any good. And I said, no, there's a place for Zach Edey. And I think he's going to be a really good player. I'm not saying anything out of pocket like he could be a franchise player, but he could be an impactful role player. And I think that's what he is.
Oh, absolutely. Here we go, Mo. The challenging one, Joel Embiid. He's a guy that when he plays, he's shown that he can maybe still play at a all-NBA level last year in limited dates, but the problem is they were very limited. Right. And apparently he needed, more surgery done on his knee. Like, at this point, I'm not even sure what I should, rank him coming into this season. Like, is he still an all-NBA player? Is he a fringe? I almost feel like putting him anything below fringe all-NBA is disrespectful, but at the same time, I don't know what condition he's in.
Or what condition he's going to be able to maintain. It's because of those question marks. I would put him as an all-star. I can't go all NBA. I think if Daryl Morey, if the coaching staff has a plan for him, it would be to get the best out of him while at the same time limiting his minutes. Plus, you have so much talent, young talent on the perimeter. I don't think he has to be the number one option on offense for them to be a decent team.
Oh, absolutely. See, that's the challenge. I think even a banged up version of I think whatever we get out of Embiid will probably still be better than Bam. I'm almost tempted to put him in the fringe all NBA category. Maybe he could sneak onto a third team if everything breaks right. But
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that argument. I'm with you. He clearly, we agree. If he's healthy, he's better than Bam, right? We're not going to argue that. He's better than Bam.
Yeah, a healthy Embiid is the only guy who can be right up here with Jokic. We've seen that before.
Right.
If he's healthy, I think he's all NBA. But health concerns, I think I'll put him right here. I think is fair. How about my defensive anchor, somebody I've fought in the trenches for years now, Rudy Gobert.
I think Gobert has to be where Bam is, right?
I think Gobert has to be where Bam is, right?
I think Gobert has to be where Bam is, right? I think Gobert has to be where Bam is, right? I think Gobert has to be where Bam is, right? I think Gobert has to be where Bam is, right? I think Gobert has to be where Bam is, right? I think they're similar. Clearly, he has a bigger impact on defense. I don't dispute anybody when they tell me how versatile a defender that Bam is, because how Bam is more quicker, more athletic, and play in space. But Rudy is such a deterrent at the rim, and he's a terrific rebounder. We talk about this all the time. It's one thing to get the stop, but if you don't end the possession and they get second chance points, well, when you play against a Rudy Gobert team, you don't get a lot of second chance opportunities. So I'm going to go with Rudy being right where Bam is, even though I think his impact is he's more impactful.
Yeah, fair enough. Rudy did show maybe some signs of decline last year, some slippage. So I think it's fair to predict that there might be some more this year. I still think he'll be a very impactful player, but well, that'll be interesting. We'll have to see.
How old is he now? Was he 32, 33?
Yeah.
So my guess is if you're the T-Wolves, you're probably going to cut his minutes back because you want the best version of him throughout the season and going into the playoffs. So he probably plays around 30, 35 minutes a game. My guess is they drop him to 28 minutes a game or something like that. And that's okay because I still think he'll be a double-digit rebounding guy.
Oh, fair enough. Say a fun guy, Jay Huff, the Pacers replacement for Miles Turner. I feel like he's here.
You mean with Klingon in? Yeah.
I think he's just a solid rotation player.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I agree.
Okay, so this one to me is a more interesting one, right? Isaiah Hartenstein, because he unlocks dimensions to that Oklahoma City offense that just weren't there last year. He is just so good. He's such a good passer. Like, he's easily a high-level rotation player, no doubt about it. But his impact almost screams a fringe all-star. Like,
I think he's more than a high-level rotation player. I'm with you. He might not get selected for the All-Star team, but I would say that somebody's going to vote for him. He's going to get some votes because of what he does for them on both sides of the floor. You're right. He's a secondary playmaker, high basketball IQ, great screener, role guy. He allows them to continue to play in space when he's on the floor. Not to mention what he does defensively for them. So I agree with you. I think he's a fringe all-star player, in my opinion.
Oh, fair enough. No, that's fair enough. Him and Draymond on the same tier. Dre's just such an interesting player to rate.
Well, look, the thing about Draymond is he's had a great Hall of Fame career. And the Warriors were good, and he was good last year. But if you look at his numbers in the season that he had, he wasn't an all-star. He shouldn't have been an all-star. And I want to say he's 34, 35. I don't think it's crazy to say he won't make the all-star team this year either. That's just Father Time saying that, not me.
I still chuckle. I still couldn't believe when he all of a sudden made that last second DPOY push. That's still wild to me. How about Jakob Poeltl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a crowded group, but that's where he belongs.
I feel like that this is probably about how I expected this to play out, honestly. It feels like there's a lot of guys who are going to be down here rather than up here when it comes to centers.
Well, let's keep it a buck. There are not that many elite centers in the current NBA. They're not.
Oh, fair enough. Jalen Duren.
I like Jalen Duren. Solid double guy. If I had a criticism, he needs to be more impactful on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
He needs to be more of a rim protector. Because he really hasn't had much impact defensively. If he ever gives you the same energy he gives you on the offensive side when he's pursuing rebounds, that'll unlock Detroit's defense. That'll make them that much tougher. So I don't want to say he's I think my instinct is to say he should be with Klingon and all the rest of them, and yet maybe he should be closer to Claxton and Aiton. I'm just saying because what is Jalen Duren now? 22? I want to say he's 22, maybe 22, 23.
Yeah, he's still super young.
Right. So he's still developing. A lot of those guys are finished products. I think I mean, the guy's already given you a double-double. I'm just saying that he needs to be more impactful on defense.
You know what? Yeah, let's have a little fun. Let's make this a prediction. I think he'll end up here. I'm okay with putting him here.
Okay.
I like going bold with these. And I think this is actually fair when we're talking about like predicting that, maybe Dre will maybe take a step back, Duran will ascend. Say Rudy's just gonna be Rudy. But how about Jared Allen?
And Jared Allen to me might be the hardest guy to rank because we know he's an impact player. We know that what he means to the Cavs. Wherever he's been, you can book him for a double-double. Not an elite scorer, but has the ability to score. Great rebounder, good roller, good at setting picks, and he's a solid rim protector. So he's clearly more than what Ayton and company is. I think he's above that, right? He's above those guys. The question is, should he be with Bam or no?
I feel like I would put him. I think I'd put him here with iHeart and like Draymond.
I like that, even though they're all, and it's weird because that grouping they all have completely different skill sets.
No, that's absolutely fair enough. It's a weird group, but I think that could very well be an absolutely just kind of fair group. Now here's a fun one. Karl Anthony Towns. Like, it feels like he's here at least.
He's supposed to be there, right? He's there. He's an all-star. He is an all-star. I don't think Cat will ever be a superstar. Will he be an all NBA player? He's already been that. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's never been first all NBA, not as a center anyway, right? Cat is hard to rank because when you watch him play, he spends so much of the game on the perimeter. So he's definitely not a traditional center. And obviously, what he does on defense isn't a lot. But because he's such a great scorer and a great shooter, yeah, I think we know he's an all-star. The only question is he fringe all NBA? I would say yes.
Yeah, that's where I'd honestly put him. I think he just kind of proved that last year, and I think he'll do it again this year.
I agree.
Like, say between him playing in Mike Brown's system. Now this guy, this is where we very much have to forecast. See, these other guys, we have a body of work on. We can say, I think we're going to regress. Or I think they'll be this by the end of the year, etc. We can predict the future for them, kind of. Right. This guy, Derek Queen, rookie. From what I saw, we saw a little bit of him in Summer League. And I don't know if he's ready to be a rotation player yet. I think it's just too early. Like, I almost think he'll be like a fringe rotation player, like caliber talent his first year. I think he has all the potential in the world. He's just really raw.
I agree. And you know what the thing about Queen is? He's one of those rookies, Brett. I feel like over the course of the season, he'll get better. He'll get adjusted to the NBA game. And I think that by the season's end, he will be a rotation player. But I definitely don't think he's going to start there, right? I think he's going to earn that playing time over the course of the season.
No, absolutely. I think I'm comfortable with him starting as a fringe rotation player. And
yeah, I agree.
And then we can always revisit this later as the fun part and move people on up and down.
That'll be fun.
Oh, absolutely. Say, this another interesting one. Walker Kessler. He
Another
was that,
double-double guy, right?
yeah, but it's interesting that the Jazz decided to not extend his contract. He's going into restricted free agency next year, so does he join Jakob, Huff, and the others, or is he maybe more of a fringe rotation player? Because I don't know. If you're, I feel like he was an easy re-sign, but the fact that the Jazz, as bad as they are, aren't going to give him an extension is kind of worrying me a little bit.
Me too, because I feel like Danny Ainge knows basketball as well as the next guy. If you got a guy that's a double-double guy and he's still a young guy and is still developing, but you're not sold on him, that tells me that his numbers are a little inflated. And he's more of a rotation guy at best, and not really a guy that's gonna like be a starter or anything like that.
No, fair enough. Derek Lively.
I like Derek Lively.
Actually, I'm gonna. So wait, did we want to put Kessler as a solid rotation? Probably. I want to put him in the fringe rotation call. I don't know. Like I said, him not getting that extension does worry me.
And that weird because he's a double guy, but let's keep it a buck. The Jazz have been one of the worst teams in basketball the last 2 or 3 years. So I don't know how good or how impactful he actually is.
Yeah, you know what? For the double and him actually still putting up numbers, I'll put him in the rotation player column.
Okay.
So Derek Lively, he's interesting because I think you can make a strong argument for high level rotation player. Like
I think he is a high level rotation player. Yeah,
and I think he could very well work his. I think he could work his way up into like a Jared Allen conversation at some point. I don't think this is the year for that, but I think I think he'll be the best out of all these guys. I think Lively will be better than Duran. He'll be better than Claxton, and he could be better than Ayton. I think that's a very real conversation.
One of the best things about Derek Lively is the kid's got an insane motor. He just doesn't quit on plays. So I agree with you. I think he can start where you have him now, but by season's end, I can see him elevating and being up there with Allen.
No, absolutely. Now here's starting for the Hornets. So there's two options, right? Musa Diabate or Mason Plumlee. So I said, let's try to rank the young guy who actually has potential and should be starting for them, because this is another developmental year for the Hornets. They've had about 27 of those.
I know.
But
that's crazy.
Is their young center, is he going to be a quality, solid rotation player or maybe just a fringe level rotation player? I kind of want to put him next to Derek Queen, honestly.
You don't, but look at the makeup of that Charlotte team, and then look at their best player, right? I think that he is with Derek Queen. I think he's a product of the culture that he's coming up in.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think he has potential. Last year was his first, full season starting or playing, and yeah, I think that we're when it comes to them, it just might be a little rough. Plus, it's the Hornets. They probably will give his minutes to Mason Plumlee for who knows what reason.
Which is crazy, but yeah. And I'm not knocking Mason Plumlee, but you got a young guy who you think can develop into a really productive starter, and you're the team that you are, play him.
I mean, I guess I'll respect the Plum Dog Millionaire random highlights that he gets. Say, Neemias Queta, the center of the Boston Celtics. He's interesting because
I've watched him a lot. Now, I think he's where the rest of them are. I think he's with Klingon and all them. I've watched him. He's a good player, okay rebounder, not a great rebounder. Doesn't have a lot of offensive talent. he's more of a high energy defender because he can play in space. He's got long arms. I guess he's an okay rim protector. I think he is perfect for that group. That's what he's meant to be.
No, fair enough. And for the Celtics, that's really all that he's going to really need to be is a solid player. So there really is no replacing Kristaps, and I think he's going to take a decent enough leap to be in a solid rotation player category. This is an interesting one too. How about Domantas Sabonis? Do we think that he's going to be MVP this year, All NBA, fringe All NBA? I think the conversation with him really starts here.
Look, I like Sabonis. You can pencil him in for like 20 points and 13 rebounds, 5 assists. He's an all-star. He's an all-star. He's definitely. I like that. I think he's a fringe All NBA player because I could see him making second or third team All NBA. That wouldn't shock me.
Okay, so I want to say, oh yeah, that's fair. He's so hard to rank. Yeah, I agree with All-Star. I'm hesitant to put him as like a fringe All NBA.
He's definitely an All-Star. We wouldn't argue that. He's for sure an All-Star. And look, let's be honest. Do we think the Kings are going to have a lot of team success this year? We do not. But what you can book on, Sabonis will play well. Sabonis will give you 20, 12, 5 assists. Pencil it in. Maybe more than it. He might go 20 and 14, but he's consistently productive, really talented offensive player. He's just stuck on a really bad team.
Here we go. This guy is so interesting to me. Alex Sarr. How do you rank a center that can't finish, Mo? Like, I don't think people understand just how bad Alex Sarr was at just finishing at the rim. He is just exceptionally terrible at it last year. I think any conversation of him becoming any higher than a rotation player starts at him developing somewhat of an offensive game.
You know what? I'm not questioning his talent, but I am questioning his motor and how he applies his talent. And he plays really, really soft. And I just think that he's got to make a big leap this season in not just his assertiveness, but how he plays and approaches the game. He's certainly, to me, more than a rotation player, but because he's on the Wizards and they're not going to win much, I don't think he's more than that this season.
Yeah, like I said, to me with him, I saw some great flashes on defense, but I cannot get over it. Just his finishing is so concerning to me. Mo, do you want to take a guess at his number? His finishing at the rim for his center. Guess what that percentage is?
For a center?
Yeah,
I'll go. I don't know, 30%. If it's
not,
low.
He was so. Obviously, we're so used to centers finishing, at a 60 or 70% clip because they play right near the rim.
Right, exactly.
Sarr was 51% at the rim.
Yeah, that's
and that's kind of what you said. He tries to be. They put him at center, but at the same time, he's really almost just built more like a forward, and it's just this weird combination of. Do you want to start putting him on the wing more, but he doesn't really shoot it well enough to be a wing, but he doesn't finish well enough to be a center? I just don't know what they're going to do with him this year, and that will be absolutely interesting.
That's the struggle, his development. And I don't know because I think you're onto something when you say he might be the kind of big that might be better at the 4, but if he doesn't have the shooting ability to play 16, 18 feet from the basket, then you can't play him at the 4 unless your center is a guy that can shoot 16. You know what I mean? One of them has to be able to step away from the basket. They both can't be camped out in the paint.
Oh, absolutely. Here we go, Mo. This is a fun one. Alperen Sengun.
Oh, I like Sangoon. This kid has got all kind of talent.
Now, I guess the real question is, do we want to predict, when it comes to predicting Sangoon, do we want to predict that he's going to be, I think the conversation for me saying for Sangoon, I think you could very well start talking about him. He could very well jump to that fringe all-star, but I think I'm comfortable with him in all-star, but I'll listen to he's going to make the leap into fringe all-NBA conversations.
I'll listen to it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think he'll be an all-star. You have to remember who he's going to be playing with. As much as I like him, I think the two best players on that team are going to be Amen Thompson and Kevin Durant. And I think while he'll be productive, I don't think he's not going to be all NBA. I do think he can be an all-star, though. I have no problem with that.
Oh, fair enough. Here we go. Miles Turner.
Well, he's certainly above.
I can only hope. I think.
Yeah, I think he's above. I think Miles Turner's unique. He should be somewhere, maybe there. He's almost in between those. You know what I mean? Like, he's certainly at least right there at a minimum. But I think that his ceiling could go at, if he has a really good year, could he be where the next wave of guys is? 100%.
Yeah, I think what he'll end up being is a high-level rotation player who could, at times, like flash as like a fringe all-star, but at the same time, I think we're going to be looking at him more like a high-level rotation player. I think he'll be an upgrade from Brook Lopez.
Well,
and I think that's kind of where he'll be.
You get younger, you get more athletic, and obviously Miles covers more ground as a rim protector too. So I think he's going to be a very good player. It wouldn't surprise me if he exceeds expectations because he's playing with Giannis.
That's almost why I almost threw him in the fringe all-star category, but it just feels like this might be a more realistic prediction for him this year. Say, Vooch. I don't know what to make of Vooch. Yeah.
He's more than a rotation player, but, and I could be wrong, I think Vooch is 33, maybe 34. And is Vooch going to give you 16 and 10? Probably. Anywhere between 16 and 10 or 18 and 10. So he's not an all-star. He's certainly more than a rotational player, but I guess, I think Vooch is, for what he'll give Chicago, he's probably right there with Miles Turner. But in terms of his impact, I think he'll have a lot less of an impact than Miles Turner will have, because he's going to be playing for a team that's going to get the brakes beat off him on a nightly basis.
Yeah, that's kind of that's funny, because that was my thought. Because I'm like, man, if Vooch is a high-level rotation player still, then Miles Turner might just be a fringe all-star.
Right.
Based on impact.
That's what I'm looking at. Turner is going to have a bigger impact than Vooch will.
I think, like Vooch might put up some bigger, like empty, like, he might put up bigger numbers, but that being said, I'm not really, I still think he's a high level rotation piece, but I don't think he'll be more impactful than Miles.
I agree.
You know what? Wemby.
Yeah, he's so unique too, because he's gonna play probably half his time at the 4, half his time at the 5, but I like him at the 5. Not where Jokic is, but if everybody's healthy and we start everything on an even kill, yeah, Wemby's gonna be like just a notch below Joker. Wemby's going to average around close to 4 blocks a game. If I want to give you a point total, I'll say 22, 23 points a game, 12 or 13 rebounds, shoot a high percentage from 3. I think Wemby is right beneath Joker.
And this is what we saw from him last year before he went down with the blood clots. He was clearly a top 10 player in the NBA. And I don't think he was even a discussion. I think it was pretty unanimously agreed upon. And in fact, he was, I would say, yeah, he was probably, I would say, the seventh-ish best player in the NBA before he went down. I
agree.
I think that once again this year he's going to be a very strong All NBA candidate.
I agree. Look, the only thing that and the only thing that even makes me remotely concerned is you worry about health. But I look, I'm hoping for great health for everybody across the board. That guy right there, if he's healthy, he's going to be an MVP candidate. He's going to win DPOY. That's how good he is.
Oh, absolutely. Wendell Carter, he's
interesting. That's an interesting guy.
Like, I almost want to go rotation player. I think he could jump back up to high level rotation player, maybe, but I think too many things would have to go right. He's the guy that his 3-point shot fell off, and he wasn't very good protecting the rim. Like you could have argued last year he was a fringe rotation player, but that being said, he spent so many years being a quality rotational piece that I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he bounces back and finds his form again as a solid rotation piece.
I like him as a rotation piece. Hopefully, with the addition of Desmond Bane, who can be a really good secondary playmaker, it gives him more opportunities at the rim.
Oh, absolutely. The guy that you almost traded for, Mark Williams, decided. I figure he'll get more reps than Kaman Malik to start the year. And say when it comes to Malik, I think they're going to bring him along slowly. You know, you start Mark Williams this year and make it Malik time next year. So I guess
No, I agree. Go ahead.
I guess the real question is he a rotation player or because I feel like he's a rotation player. I think he's like better than guys like Derek Queen, but
I think he's a rotation player, and I think you have to also factor in Mark Williams isn't the most durable guy in the NBA. So while they don't plan on playing the young guy right away, I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't get some opportunity because if you play Mark Williams too many minutes, you're going to be missing some time. So, yeah, I think Mark Williams is a really good rotational player, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and for the Pelicans, even if you want to say that, UV Missy will be the starter, I think it's the same thing. I'm not very high on their other young guy in Missy, so I think Derek Queen should get the bulk of the minutes, but because he has such a higher ceiling. Here, and I think the last two guys are so much fun. Zubac.
Big Z.
Does the conversation start at All-Star? Fringe All-Star?
I think he's a fringe All-Star. I do. I'm part of me loves that he developed the way he did, Brett, but then there's another part of me going, we had him. He was our guy. And we just let him go. Like, and he's such a good player. And he's one of those guys, you always talk about guys knowing their strengths and staying in their lane. Big Z, whenever he's on the floor, he doesn't do anything that's out of pocket or out of his lane. Just a really good basketball player. You can book him. Good rebounder, finisher. He's added this really smooth swinging hook that he can shoot with either hand. I think he's a fringe All-Star.
No, and that's fair enough. I think if you want to make the argument that he's All-Star, that's the one I would listen to. That's definitely one I would listen to. But yeah, I'm okay with him being in that fringe All-Star, category. And the last guy would be Kristaps Porzingis. It almost feels like he's also because it's like high-level rotation player that might be a little bit too.
That's almost too low, right? I think that's
he's
low.
almost in between these two.
Yeah, I'm with you. Because he has a very unique skill set, right? He's a face-up player who's more of a jump shooter than he is an actual post-up player. He's not a great one-on-one defender, but he's actually a very good weak side defender. So I think he's kind of in between those two.
Say, you know what? I'll throw him up here. So I guess looking at the, it'll take a second. We'll see. Looking at the tier list, Mo, predicting how this year will play out. I guess for these centers, is there anything that you'd want to move around?
Look, young guys are the hardest to predict in terms of how they'll adjust to the NBA and find their way. I think we're both high on Derek Queen, but I think we also both think he's going to need some time to develop. And so the thing that you might or we might end up moving around later is the biggest mystery on the whole board is Joel Embiid. If they get a healthy Joel Embiid, the Sixers they won't be the laughing stock of the East because they have plenty of talent on the perimeter. If Joel Embiid looks anywhere near Joel Embiid, that's an MVP candidate, that immediately changes. I'm not putting him with Joker, but you probably have to put him at least up there with Wemby if he's going to play at that level.
The best, yeah. Joel Embiid, I think, is the biggest X factor because Embiid playing at the level we know he can. All of a sudden, I think he gets back into the strong all NBA conversation. No doubt about it.
Agreed.
If Embiid comes in and his health is worse off than we thought, then maybe he even ends up dropping a tier. And that's why I think it's kind of smart to split the difference and say fringe all NBA. If he's healthy, I think he's probably a strong all NBA, but it's just so hard to predict health when it comes to, Embiid. So say, yeah, him and Cat. I think Cat's in a perfect spot too. I think the strong all-star group is great. Fringe all-star. I think that's great too. I think the only two arguments I think I could really make is ironically, not even Turner, but I think I could argue Big Z moving up to all-star. And obviously just for his defensive and playmaking alone, Draymond. But yeah, I think this is a great tier list.
And you know what? I'm glad you went back to Draymond. Even as we were doing the list, I kept thinking, do we have Draymond too low? Because you and I both know his impact on the court has nothing to do with how many points he scores, right? That's not where his impact is. What he does defensively and the playmaking, not to mention he's one of the best pick setters in the NBA. Draymond allows guys like Steph and Jimmy Buckets to run around off ball because of what he does. I almost feel like I've underrated him.
You know what? I think I did too. I think bumping him up one into the strong all-star category, I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah, agree.
And like I said, I think everybody else is pretty much perfectly rated. Like I said, the only other guy, maybe Zubac, is also a strong all-star.
It's close.
And then it's X factors and then it's just a lot of X factors. So, like I said, I think I'll just save this into the drafts. Maybe we'll post it onto the page, and throughout the year we'll go back to it and see how our predictions play out here.
Partner, this is what's going to make this NBA season so fun, that we put out these tier lists, and there'll be people that agree with us. There's going to be some haters that'll tear us apart. I'm okay with that because I think we're going to be right more than we're wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair enough. Yeah, I'd say. And NBA season is almost here, by the way. That's exciting news. We got, what is it, a month? We got a month to NBA season. So guess what? We're going to knock this right out. We're going to go right in order pretty much. Next week, we'll mess around with the forwards. Probably just do a whole episode on forwards and guards because that will take a minute, but that's all right.
That'll be fun. I think are we doing forwards? Or are we doing power forwards, small forwards? Or are we just doing forwards?
Probably just forwards.
Okay. I like that.
I just feel like it's too hard sometimes to put positions on some players especially when it comes to forwards, because a lot of these forwards nowadays, they range from like we've seen like guys like Jalen Johnson be flexible to play the 2, 3, 4. So it's like,
agreed.
Like, is he a small forward? Is he a power forward? So my game plan is we're just going to lump guards and forwards all in one big group. And then guess what? The week before the season, Mo, I figure I'll take some time, do another top 30 predictions list. We can do some fun predictions, hot takes, awards, award predictions. So
I like that. By the way, everybody that's listening, and again, appreciate you guys in the chat. Yeah, look, we got it. We're gonna have to get into it maybe a little bit next week or the following week. ESPN just released their top 100 players, and I do not agree with their list. Some of that is some wild stuff, but yeah, we'll have fun getting into that.
Yeah, you know what? You want to hear us get into that? You can tune into the morning show tomorrow morning.
There you go. There you go. This is where we start the double, everybody. So we will be back tomorrow morning. We can talk a little NBA, not to mention we can make our NFL picks. It's going to be a blast.
Absolutely. That's all I have for us today, Mo. Anything you want to add before we get up on out of here?
No, love chopping it up with you, partner. Thank you guys so much in the chat. Thank you, everybody out there that's joining us from whatever platform you're on. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, shout out to Kurum, Kyle. Like, you guys are the real MVPs. So,
yeah.
That being said, thank you very much, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you for tuning in to the And One podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And One? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page, and join the And One Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful day.